Good morning. Good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
Good morning. You are now on
Yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. All right.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bishop, and thank you. Good morning. Every day we rise. It's a great day to be alive, and welcome to the Seven Cities Forums of Anthem Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And I'm here with my co-hosts, Leah Drake Stiff and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. And of course, I'm yours truly, James Slim Overton. How you doing, host?
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Yes, yes.
Monday morning, we here.
We're here.
Yes.
Happy belated birthday to the Colonel. He had a birthday last week, and
Happy birthday, Colonel.
Glad to
doesn't
be here for
look
another one. Yes. Every birthday is a good birthday.
It's a good birthday. Every day is a good day, like I said earlier.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you for joining us on the WGPL 1350 AM Live and Facebook Live. And we have a special guest with us this morning, and I'm going to let Mr. Leah introduce him.
Wonderful.
Mr. Anthony Ward.
I am so pleased to be able to introduce to those who may not know him, and Mr. Anthony Ward. Anthony Ward is a graduate of the class of 1991 from Norcom High School. One of the three times we've had to save IC Norcom High School, and his class was one of the classes that worked hard at saving IC Norcom High School. During the time when Anthony went to Norcom, you had to have a B average to attend Norcom, and that was a good day, and we had great students there at IC Norcom High School. Anthony is now a chef with the Senate. Help me, Anthony.
All right, I'm here with you,
and
I can help you out.
Yes, with the Senate office building. Contract manager with the Senate office building. Am I correct?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes, you're correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yep, that is it. I was a chef in the Marine Corps for a good little while. It's what we call enlisted aides. And we pretty much do all the event planning for the general officers, admirals, and we had some presidential duties as well. So I have been doing that for the past couple of decades or so.
So we thought it was enlightening that we have a lot of students now who are interested in going to culinary art school. And so I thought, and when I presented to James and to the Colonel, it'd be good to have Anthony on board because he is in the field and maybe he can inspire some other young person who may want to get to where he is at this point in time. And he can share with us how he was able to get to where he is. Now, Anthony, you started, as you said, you went to, you started in the Marine Corps with your chef duties. And then share a little bit more about what you have been involved in.
Okay. Well, actually, once I left Norcom, I went on to James Madison University as a hospitality management major. And funny thing was at JMU, they had folks that would come in and recruit. And so they were recruiting to increase their African American numbers at JMU. So they came to Norcom, they recruited, actually my sister and I, she was class of 88. Alicia Hurdle, and she went to JMU, and then I followed her to JMU as well. We were in a program called the transition program, which kind of helped out the African American students to get used to the college life the summer before college started. And I was a hospitality management major there. I left JMU when my father passed away. And then this is before I could graduate. So once he passed away, I came on home, and then I ended up enlisting in the Marine Corps as a food service specialist, as a cook. But when I was at JMU, I was also part of the Marriott management program. And so I learned a lot of things dealing with cooking, dealing with kitchen management and those things. So I already had that skill level when I hit the Marine Corps. And funny thing with the Marine Corps, when I enlisted, I was there as around, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, but I was already 22 years old and had a college experience. but I wasn't an officer. And so it was uh, it was a little different being around my peers, and because I already kind of had that college experience and that knowledge, whereas most of the folks were right out of high school. And but I ended up doing well in the Marine Corps when I learned everything I needed to do to cook, and I eventually ended up being a chief baker. And so a lot of the cakes, cookies, pies, all those things we would make from scratch. They would send us tons of flour and tons of shortening. I knew how to do the recipe, and I would do everything from scratch for about 3,500 Marines per meal. And so that helped me with a lot of my knowledge, my cooking skills, and different things like that. So then, as my time in the Marine Corps went on, I did almost 20 years in the Marine Corps as a food service specialist. But I was able to go to Japan, Okinawa, Japan. I was able to go to New Orleans to cook for a while. I went to Afghanistan, Iraq. I took some visits to Australia. So I've got a chance to see different places around the world. And so that was a real good experience, especially with culinary, because you can learn the different things that are going on in different communities, and you learn your skill set, so to speak. So especially to the young people listening that are aspiring to do something in culinary, um, just keep pressing, keep learning. If you're around the American Culinary Federation, they do things in the community and they do things wherever you're at. If you join up with them, or at least go to some of those meetings, you can learn some things from the chefs that have already made it, in your area. And it's free initially. You can just go, and later on you can join if you'd like to. But that'll kind of give you the bark behind your bike, so to speak. If you join up with the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, when you put it on the resume or something, it's going to really help you out. But let me see, from the Marine Corps, I actually had a chance to do some combat experience too, where I was in Afghanistan. I fed about 2,500 Marines for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and what we call midnight rations. So this was feeding all around the clock at 5 different locations in Afghanistan in a combat environment. But from what the Marines taught me, I knew how to build a satellite food service site. I knew how to get my sanitation inspectors in place, which in the Navy they're called preventive medicine technicians. And those people would actually inspect and make sure things were sanitary. There was a contractor on site, and I got in touch with our motor transport units, and they would be able to take what we call mermites. They were like uh, Cambro insulated food boxes, and you could put the pans in there and the food would stay hot. So I had enough of those on supply to keep a rotation up. But once you get into food service and once you get doing culinary things, you'll understand how to do operations and things like that. But that ended up being a successful event. I was able to keep everybody fed. I was able, most importantly, to keep everybody from getting sick, because if you're feeding without a consistent heat source, you can get a lot of people sick. And if I got anybody sick out there in Afghanistan, this would have taken out some of the ground elements, and then we would have been very vulnerable. And this was at Camp Leatherneck at the time, so we were just coming out of Iraq from all the things the Marine Corps did in Iraq, Marine Corps and the military did in Iraq. And this was in Afghanistan when we were trying to take a lot of stuff, a lot of the things that the Taliban had already had. And so this was a big push, a big battle called Marja, and some other battles that went on in Afghanistan. And so that was important to keep people fed, to keep people safe and from not getting sick. From then on, and after the Marine Corps, after that combat experience, I came up to the DC area. And this is my second time up in the DC area as an enlisted aid operations manager. So enlisted aides, like I said earlier, they take care of the different duties for general officers, admirals, different things like that. So I was up there as the operations chief for those guys and make sure people could get trained at the Culinary Institute of America. and they could go on to work for different general officers. So another interesting thing was earlier, several years before I came into the list, when I came into the enlisted aid program, I was stationed at the Pentagon. So for during the 9/11 attack.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
I was actually stationed there. Actually, before that time, before the attacks came, but I was working in the building at the time. We saw the planes hit the building in New York. We thought probably the pilot had a heart attack or some emergency issue. But then when we saw the other plane hit, we all knew that we were under attack. And some of us just remarked how the next logical place to hit would be the Pentagon. And sure enough, we got hit. And then I was able to make it out of the building at the time, and we made it, across the highway. And we were able to evacuate safely. And one of the weird things was when we were trying to evacuate the building. I worked in the element with a lot of the leaders of the military, and so I was kind of their cook, personal chef. We were kind of that unit. And so when I left out of the area I was in, Sergeant Major Marine Corps at the time, Sergeant Major McMichael, he was in the hallway too, and the hallway was smoky, and we were trying to figure out how to get out. And it dawned on me that this was a high-ranking member in the military in my branch of service, and I was a sergeant at the time, so it was kind of my duty to make sure he got out and to make sure he got to a safe place and make sure he got to his people. And we did that. We made it out to the courtyard of the Pentagon, and then we were able to make it outside of the building and go ahead, get him to a safe and secure place. And the next day we set up a command element at the Navy Annex because the Pentagon was still on fire. And so the food service personnel, my group, we had to go back into the Pentagon, get equipment, get different things that were still salvageable. And the building was still on fire. And so we went through the fire and we got up to the floors that we had to get to, and we got what we needed to get. And that's just what you do in the military. You'll have to go through the fire sometimes. But the remarkable thing was when we went to the building, you could see a whole slice of the building, things were burned, things were on fire. And when you looked up at the second floor, you saw a Marine Corps flag. And it was our flag is scarlet, red, and gold. And the gold fringes on the flag had not been touched. The flag was not smudged. The flag was not burned, and it was just flapping in the wind. So that was it made you feel good, when you were walking into that building, So, but that's part of the experience. That's my military experience.
Yeah,
and then
Anthony,
after the military, it took me a
Anthony,
little while.
let me step in. Let me step in a minute here because very informative. And as you're talking, I'm marking out questions that I had.
Me too, James.
Too. But anyway, I just wanted to step in and say, the culinary and food processing, the food services is we always talk here about the other opportunities that our youngsters have. And a lot of them don't know about, and the food services, how that could turn into a career is definitely a good option. And I just want to go back, when you had Norfolk, probably in 91, y'all still weren't eating fish sticks every Friday, were you?
I think we were, either that or pizza.
Okay, because I was going to say, maybe that's what got you into
food service.
Food service. I got to learn how to cook something else.
My dad got me into it. Yeah, my father, he did a lot of cooking around the house.
Yeah, but like I said, the opportunities in that field, and you mentioned that, a lot of that you have talked to, students or you gave information about how to get started in that. So is it something that you do or that your job does to going out talking to high school students or students, letting them know what the opportunities are through the military?
No, that hasn't. No, that hasn't been anything that's been established at all going out and reaching out to different students and things like that, and discussing. Yeah, to answer your question, no, but it would be I think it would be a good idea, if there was a group or if there was a platform where someone like myself could speak to the students and help them and guide them as they go along. So
Right, especially in this area, that in the area of Hampton Roads, specifically Portsmouth. When you come back, excuse me, because we always talk about the guests we have that want to offer to come back and do something. And, food services and the culinary field is something that, some of the students don't think about it, and it might be their niche, so that's something that could happen.
Yeah. And once you learn your craft and your skill, you can go anywhere. Like I was describing to you earlier, especially when I went to New Orleans and I got a chance to see Emeril's restaurant. And I got a chance to actually meet John Besh, which is a famous chef as well. I got a chance to meet. I don't know if you guys have seen the Magic Seasoning, and you see the guy on the picture of the Magic Seasoning. He looks like Dom DeLuise a little bit. Well, he's actually a chef. I had a chance to meet him before he passed, and this was down in New Orleans. So yeah, once you get into that craft and that skill, and you start learning some things, you get a chance to meet some other mentors, some other chefs, and you can make a difference, especially with our community too. You can kind of look and see what healthy things you can cook for folks in our community to kind of combat diabetes and high blood pressure, those things, because you know what to do with food.
And I know the Colonel has a question, but I saw something about you. You speak, along with English, you speak 5 languages?
I speak, I know how to communicate just a little bit. Like I can do greetings and different things like that. But what that does is it opens the door for, a closeness with different communities. So I've learned some Japanese, I've learned some Tagalog, a little bit of Spanish, and those languages I'm trying to remember, and some French. So
I think French. I saw French.
Yeah, I actually took French in
Yeah, I knew it. I knew one of those French or Spanish started there, but and that's a good thing to also encourage our young people to learn those different languages, because other countries learn English at a very early age because they know the opportunity, and you can broaden your opportunities by investing in learning some other languages.
Oh yeah, just when you say hello or you greet somebody in another language, in their language, it just opens up the door to make you closer to them. I don't have a whole vocabulary of it, but I know how to speak to you. I know how to say hello, good day, thank you, those different things. And actually, I've started learning a little bit of Korean as well, because we have contractors that are Korean. And so with a lot of the Asian people, they're real high on honor and respect.
Yes.
When I can speak to them and greet them properly as somebody as an elder to me in their language, when I need something or I need something done or I need to speak with them, it opens the door completely from when somebody else doesn't take the time to learn about them.
Exactly.
It's helpful in doing that too.
Indeed.
But, yeah, I need to put the disclaimers out before we even start, but the views expressed on this radio show are not of the radio, but of the host and our guests. And the other piece is I also need to pay the bills here today. And so if you'd like to send a donation or have a sponsorship with us, you can send it to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And Anthony.
Yes.
When you was talking about the Pentagon attacks, it almost brought me to my tears, because I think about, you was talking about the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. I had a friend of mine, or a classmate, Lieutenant Colonel Karen Wagner, that was in the Pentagon and got hit directly at that time. And she was the first, I can't say the first, but she was an MSC officer, was killed on that day. And she was on my class, one of my graduate school classmates. And so with the war on terror, it hits all of us.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and you were given the description of, the service of food service. And also made me recognize and go back and look at from my first deployment way back in Bosnia. That was before your time.
Yeah.
And going to Iraq and Kuwait, and and I tell you what, food service is and those who work in the food service fields in the military are our unsung heroes, because the things that they bring to us, those meals, is a great morale builder. Get a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Because I remember going when I first deployed the first time, going 45 days without a shower.
Oh.
And in that, I know I was humble. Bird baths at 45 days ain't good.
Yes.
But 45 days of eating out of the can, with the food, the guys and gals that are cooked, they can only do so much magic what comes in the can. Yeah. But when the forces caught up with us, and then we got that first real meal, boy, you talking about some good eating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it does change the tone of what you're doing. So I have to give you big props and everything.
Yeah, it definitely builds your morale.
Yes.
To get a nice hot meal. We were able to take a few helicopter rides from Camp Leatherneck and go to some of the forward operation rating bases, and we cooked us some steaks, and we had some potatoes, and we had some things, and we put them in those Mermite boxes. We hopped up in the chopper, and we landed, and all we could do was what we call in the military is touchdown.
Yeah.
You land, you push whatever you have out, and you get back up, because they start shooting at you. That's what they did. But we were able to deliver those steaks and those hot steaks to those guys, and they were dusty, they were tired, and when you give that food to them and you take off, you can already see them smiling.
Yeah.
So that helps to keep the guys going.
So Anthony, there were two epic events that you were a part of then, or you were there for 9/11. You were also there for the invasion of the Capitol. Now, where were you when that took place?
I was in the Capitol at the time. I saw them all outside. They hadn't got up to the stairs yet, but so I take care of I managed the contract for the Senate food service operations currently. So coming out of the military, I ended up getting a job at the Capitol. And so managing the contract, we have a contractor that does the food services on site. So I was on that part where our kitchen was at, on the Capitol side. And then I had to leave that side to go get some supplies to bring them back. So by the time I hit the hallway to make it on my way back, the hallway was closed off and they had breached the building already. And so I had food service personnel on that side. And so I gave a call, and they had already locked themselves in the locker room. So the interesting thing was when you see the part on the news where the gentleman's running up the stairs, the police officer,
Not gentlemen.
They're following him.
Yes, not gentlemen. Not gentlemen. We wouldn't even give him that.
His name is Gene. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, Gene, police officer. You talking about the police officer?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
He went up the stairs, and he was that hero. He led them away from where they were trying to get to. So when he went up the first set of stairs, you see a green floor, and part of that was the kitchen that the crowd ran past. And I noticed that the personnel didn't have time to close up the kitchen. I was like, oh my goodness, they don't get in the kitchen and get all the sodas and snacks, but they weren't concerned with sodas and snacks that time. So, but I had to stay that day after they breached the building, because a lot of the FBI and different agents and the different military personnel were in the building protecting the senators. And so they didn't have any food, they didn't have any water, and they were there for hours. And so, and the senators and their staff were in non-disclosed room.
Mhm.
And so me being in the food service contractor and in touch with the operators, I started taking the water from the shelves, taking the food from the shelves. I got with the chef that was on site, and we just started sending food up there. So as a Marine, I saw a Capitol police officer, and I told him my background. I'm a retired gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. I told him, you take lead, because he had a weapon. Take lead, I'll take follow. And that means I'm going to be the last person in that area, and you'll be the first person in that area. And we put the food service workers in between us.
Mm.
And so we grabbed the food, we grabbed the water. I was the last person. He was the first person. We made it to the elevator or stairs or wherever we had to get to, and we delivered the food and water to the officers and during that day. And so we stayed there till about, I don't know, 6-7 hours, past my 8-hour duty.
Uh-huh.
I think I left there about 10-11 o'clock at night that night, and I'm there about 7 in the morning. So, but it got done, and it felt like a strange thing. It felt like a normal day to me, because coming from the Marine Corps and
Yeah,
having the experience I had,
yeah.
that part was like muscle memory to me. It was the easiest thing. I knew
Yeah.
what to do. I knew where I needed to go. I knew how to keep people calm, and so that was real helpful with my military background.
You know what? It's interesting that you talk about that. I'm hoping that one of these people in the House of Representatives, when they hold the investigation, they go back and ask, what are the rules of engagement
Mm-hmm.
and use of force? And you talk about the police officer, Gene.
Yeah.
The minute I saw that, I superimposed myself into that role. If I was in that role, it would have ended early. Because the first guy that came up,
So you would go.
he'd have caught 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. And I said, everybody get down. The next guy that steps out there, he'd have caught 1 in the head.
Yeah.
And the next guy would have caught 1 that says, anybody else have any questions? If you're out, you need to leave my building now. And then I would start capping people.
Yeah.
So we would not have that invasion from these what I call treasonous folks that are now going to, they've arrested 600 people, but nobody's getting any real time. And I got more, I can get more time driving in Portsmouth for a tail light being out than these folks have invaded the Capitol. And I know, James, you need to talk about, because we're getting ready to go off the radio station, before I digress into getting in there. Yes.
Yeah, let me, and we're going to continue on Facebook, Anthony. But we just have the half an hour on the radio. We can continue because we have plenty more to talk about. So I'd like to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for joining us this morning. And remember, next week we'll be right back here at 6:30 AM. So join us then. And as we kick off National Adoption Month, and we're going to have a special guest with a very special story for you concerning adoption. So join us next week. Okay, we continue.
So
let me say, Colonel,
yeah,
for
okay.
people that heard what you just said that might think that's a little harsh, but you mentioned rules of engagement, and I'm not a military person, but that shows you how serious that thing was.
Right.
And if they had gotten their way, they would have done the same thing probably. They would have done more damage than what you said, but your military background kicked in just like Anthony's did.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had a weapon, Anthony, but you took the, you took the end, you took the back end. Did you have a weapon?
No, he said he didn't have one.
You didn't have a weapon. And, that was just these two guys' military instincts kicking in. But if that sounds harsh, I mean, that's just what they were trained to do in a situation like that. And, I'm glad it didn't get to that point, but if those guys could have done a whole lot of damage to some very important people. And that's why we don't understand why they are trying to shrug it off now, when they were in our way themselves. But, politics is a strange animal,
Indeed it is.
Yeah, what the
Well, you know
colonel
what?
talked about with the rules of engagement, that's usually how you're trained. You go two to the chest and one to the head, and you're taught to shoot like that, especially in tight situations like that, or if you're in close, what we call close quarters combat. And but the preliminary of that is that you do get rules of engagement, and so rules of engagement tell you how many feet a combatant or vehicle gets from you before you take a kill shot. That's what we call a kill shot: two to the chest, one to the head. And so, but you have a certain amount of feet that they should be away from you. And you might not be heard about, but we do give a warning shot before that happens. I know for some of the vehicles that would try to breach some of the bases I was at, if they get within so many feet, you shoot right over top of them, and that should deter them. And then the closer you get, you take another shot. It might be an injury shot, and then when they get within so close to you, that's the kill shot. So that's kind of what the colonel was talking about. There's a description as to how that escalation of force should happen. And it happens, that discussion happens way before any incident happens. And because I knew that, and I had spoken with some of the officers and I know them, I just kind of had some conversations with them that morning, and I could tell that some of that hadn't been done already, just from my experience. And so you're exactly right, Colonel. When you saw that didn't happen, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Because from our instinct, we know that should have happened, and it should have been a discussion already.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
And you're correct. And the thing is that for the example, the one discharge that we had, that the black officer shot through when the girl was trying to get in and breach through that little hole. They stopped. Everything stopped because they understood. Those people was at that door understood he ain't playing no more.
Right.
Yeah. And it could have ended up in, I look at in the rotunda where they had in the circle where they finally went up. I can't think of that. That was a section there where the police officers really failed to me if I'm investigating in their duties, because that was what we call an area of kill zone right there. When they had them all rounded up, I'd have got 5 guys, would have stopped at that door, and it would have ended right there. And I'd have, I could have cleaned it out with less than 5 guys. Everything would have stopped. But that's me. So,
I hear you.
Yes. So, but getting off of that before folks misinterpret what I'm talking about,
right?
Is yes, you have a story to tell, and it would be great for if you send an email to, you had the ex-sergeant major of the Marine Corps. He needs to hook you up with Marine Corps Recruiting Command, so you can go out here and tell your story of success in life after the Marine Corps. And so that's what I would do, because they need to put you out here and talk about, your beginnings and how you started out and where you're at. And our young folks need to see, hey, the Marine Corps and all the military branches, this is what can become of you. Pull your pants up and we can do something different.
Well, you know what helped, Colonel? I know earlier before we got on there, we were talking about Waters, right? Well, the Waters Junior High School and the different, I'll say the different ways you had to protect yourself at Waters. Pretty much, fights would happen at Waters. If from the middle school age on through, and just coming from Portsmouth, even though Cavalier Manor, the area that I'm from is Cavalier Manor, but coming from Portsmouth, you had to know how to protect yourself. You had to know and recognize if somebody bumped your shoulder or stepped on your shoe, or they were doing some different things to intimidate you. You recognize that coming from Portsmouth. You recognized it early as a child. And so I think it was helpful with the Marine Corps, and it was helpful, following that, to know just how to meet an aggressor, to know how you need to handle yourself. Now, some people can take things too far, but you're able to recognize it. And that was the important thing. Not saying the fights were great to happen at Waters, but coming where we're from in our city and having to survive and make it through childhood and adulthood in Portsmouth, you're taught a different set of rules, and you can use that as you go on through life. You know, it's funny. Whenever I talk to somebody from Portsmouth and we gone to different places, we always use the term, "Man, I had to go Portsmouth on them." And you know, it just means that you're not going to take their crap. You're not going to let them walk over you. You're going to let them know that this is where it stops right here, right now. And you can either handle it one way or you can handle it another way. And that's what we're taught. I think all of us are taught that in Portsmouth. You know, you can be the nicest person, but after a certain time, you're not going to let that get past. And so I thank Portsmouth for that, you know, because it helped me to survive, you know.
Okay, guys, we're gonna get back to the chefing business. How about that?
Okay,
We did the war. But Anthony, what is the CIA? I don't know if you can tell me now. What is the CIA Pro Chef Certification Program?
That is the Culinary Institute of America. So there are different levels to your chef experience. You know, so Pro Chef Level 1. That means that you're able to cook different types of foods in different manners in a certain set of time. And, you know, on the Pro Chef Level 2 and Level 3, it gets a little more difficult from there. And then there are different levels to the chef hierarchy as well. I think the lowest level is called a certified culinarian. So you'll see someone with a chef coat and they have CC beside them, you know. Another one, they have CEC beside their name. That's a certified executive chef. And so once you get those certifications and you go into a food service establishment, they know that you already know how to cook, how to manage, how to order, you know, that you know how to keep costs down. You already come in with that basic level of knowledge. So that it'll help you when you go get a job and when you can ask for more money in your salary because you've already had that certification. So that's what the Pro Chef Level 1 is, but it's more levels to it. But so any folks that are in the culinary world, I go ahead and urge you to go ahead and get your certifications and get that done because it's just really helpful. You know, when you take the test to get your things done, it's kind of like what you see on what are these chef shows that come on, you know, where they have the time clock and you have to do these different things. It's kind of like that when you test out. So you have to know where your things are at, how long it takes you to do different things. You're sweating, you're trying to get it done, you're trying to stay focused. And at times you might be asked to do a menu on the spot, which I've had to do for a competition before. You put on a menu, put a menu together, they give you a box of ingredients, and you can put a menu together in like 5-10 minutes, and you're able to do those menu items and successfully cook. So yeah, and a lot of you listening can do that. You know, it just takes a little bit of coaching, and it takes a little bit of knowing what to do. If you have the skill set to do it and the passion for it, you can get it done.
Yeah.
At your class reunion brunch yesterday, did they allow you to fix anything for them?
No,
I would put you in the kitchen.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get in the kitchen. I washed dishes.
You washed dishes.
I did.
You learned that well as well, huh?
Yeah. The other ladies, Jenny and Mimi, they went ahead. They did some really nice stuff. They did some chicken and waffles. They did some shrimp and grits. They did some different things. And so, yeah, I didn't get a chance to go in there and do some things. You know, all of you that are married, you know, you got to check in with your spouse for your schedule to make sure that you can do what you need to do. And I hadn't talked with my wife about it. And we actually had my 5-year-old daughter, she plays piano, and she had a piano lesson at 11 o'clock. So and we were trying to all eat at noon. So I had to run out, get groceries for the class, and I delivered the groceries earlier than did my daughter's piano lesson. So, you know, because that was important. At 5 years old, and she knows how to read music and play with both hands, and she's just adapt to music.
Yeah.
It's important to encourage that.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Indeed. Yeah. Anthony, I want to ask you about the AOC. They have created opportunities for small businesses, veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. to be involved. And I don't know, in your field, do they have an opportunity to be vendors or something like that? Because a certain percentage that they have set up for these different businesses to take advantage or have an opportunity to get business with the government.
Yeah, definitely, and not only the AOC, but any government agency can use anybody's skill set. If you paint, if you're an electrician, if you do food, anything that you guys are doing out there that are listening to us. And so what you need to do is make sure that you check in with the Small Business Association. And then you also want to make sure that you look into what you need to do for federal contracting. If you go to sam.gov, sam.gov, you can look up some of the things that you need to do and some of the requirements. It's pretty much if you already have your business and you have your business license, and you can look up how to do that as well. But once you get on with federal contracting and get your all your numbers that you need to get, it's called a Duns and Bradstreet number.
Yes.
Once you get that, you can do business with the government. And like I said, they look for small businesses, they look for African American businesses, they look for service disabled, veteran-owned businesses. And guys, you get first dibs on a federal contract, being African American or being service disabled or being veteran-owned. You get first dibs first before the big businesses do. So, if you have all your stuff together, you have a business plan, you got everything tight and ready to go, they'll pick you to vacuum the floor and dust the blinds. That's it. That at the lowest level, they will pick like 2 or 3 people to do that. And this can be your contract to go in federal building and vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you keep that up, and then you'll be able to have some residual income, and you can name your price on what you need to do. Look at the equipment you need, how much you need to pay your employees. You put that together and you send out a bid to the government. So I know you spoke specifically about the AOC. Just any government agency is looking for different contractors to do different things around the edges from what they usually do. So you can look on sam.gov and see what things are out there that are available that they want done as well. So that would be your answer to working with the AOC, as just as any government agency too. It can be somewhere right there in Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, some small government agency that, I don't know, they need pencil sharpened. And you can do that, So.
Good information to know. And also you stress the importance of having everything, all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Make sure, you just can't go in there half stepping, but if you go in right, the opportunity is there for your business to grow. And, the sky's the limit in dealing with the government.
If your listeners Google business plan template, once you have a business plan template, and I know the Colonel can attest to this too, it gives you your battle plan. You have your name of your business, how much money you're going to make, but you also size up your competition. So folks from Portsmouth, if you got the big guy that's picking on you and he's stealing your lunch money every day, you make a plan on what you're going to do. You get some of your other partners together and you're going to figure out how this guy's going to stop messing with you. Well, your business plan is kind of the same way, except you're using this instead of this. You're using your head instead of your fist.
Yes.
And you put that plan together and you size up your competition. You look and see what's around. And it can be as small as big. Other competition in the neighborhood or other competition globally, depending on how big you want to go. But you have a plan and you know how to combat those things when it comes to you. Business plan should be first. Get that business plan done and you can get the money's going to come. You can show that business plan to people that you want to ask money from. They call angel investors. And they will give you the money if you have a solid business plan, but you need to pay them back though. But if you have a solid business plan, you can get this done. So guys, don't give up. You can get it done.
Yeah. Anthony, what would be your advice to somebody wants to go into the culinary fields?
Sorry, I had to laugh in my coffee there. If you want to go into the culinary field, well, I know they have a lot of things that I didn't have advantage to. You don't just have to open up a book. You can open up some things on YouTube. You can look at some different chefs that are doing some different things and their skill level, at the very least, if you're still in school, I don't know if they still do home economic classes. That's what they had in Norfolk when I was there, but
Yeah, I don't think there's home economics anymore.
okay, all right. They
Life something called life science or whatever, some life skills or something like that. They've changed the name, but it's
All right.
basically there.
Start out with that. Start out, if you're still in school, start out with those life skills classes, because you think about it or not, you might see a lot of the ladies in those classes, and that's why sometimes ladies are smarter than us guys. You want to look at those life skills because they are important. You're going to need those almost more than you'll need the other classes that are going on. But if you start with those life skill classes, they'll teach you some of the basics on what you need to know with food, and then you can go on and look in the American Culinary Federation that I told you about, and they'll sometimes pick people to come and do interns and things like that. Folks, if you get into the culinary world and once you start learning some things about it, I've been to events where I knew chefs that were working at the White House, and I would just talk with them and say, hey man, you guys need some help this weekend. And they say, sure, just come on in, bring your cooking knives and your chef coat and just come. And I didn't need a clearance. I didn't need a pass. I knew them. We were all cooking. We were all in the same community. And you're able to have doors open up for you. The chef community is a small, tight-knit community, and they'll help you out. But start looking at some of those cooking things. Get you a good set of cooking knives. Learn some things. Learn what we call knife skills, how to dice and slice and julienne, and how to use your knives. Learn some of the basics, how to fry, bake, broil, learn your seasonings, and those are some of the basics. If you haven't looked it up on YouTube or you don't feel like doing that, those are some of the basics. Know your seasonings, know your knife skills, know your cooking methods. Once you got that down, you can do what you need to do, and plating. You know how it presents and how it goes on a taste and how different flavors blend or something like that. But yeah, things like Southwestern type flavors, you use like cumin and, salt, pepper, you'll use, avocados, some of those different flavor profiles. So that's what I talk about, flavor profiles. You have Italian flavors, you have Southwestern flavors, you have Indian flavors. If you can speak to that on a job interview and they know what you're talking about and you can perform it, and you guys can do this, those are some of the basics that you need to know and want to look at. And then go on to, look at culinary school. You can look at internships. They always want to use that extra help in the kitchen. You can start out as a dishwasher in somebody's establishment, and you can kind of make your way over to the kitchen. I've seen dishwashers make it up to executive chef before. So don't give up.
You mentioned culinary schools. Well, let me get this piece before you Slim jump in. Is that to also look at accredited programs, because there are a lot of culinary schools out here that are non-accredited, but they're for profit. So they will take your basic grants from the federal government and also load you up on loans, and then so you'll never and give you a piece of paper on the back end that's not going to be worth it from an accredited, that you would not get what you go through an accredited program. So you have to also do your research before you join up in one of these programs.
I was going to say, in my senior year, I took home economics, and that class, I think we had half the basketball team in that class. And I don't think any of us know how to boil an egg, but I hope that anybody watching, young people watching, will listen to Anthony Ward about how to go about getting into this field and take that seriously, unlike we did during those days. But it was unusual for us to take that anyway, but we had to have a class. But anyway, we want to thank you for really coming here and sharing one other thing, during your military career, you did have an opportunity to come back here and spend, I believe, a year and a half almost in Norfolk. Serving. Tell us a little bit about that. I know that was kind of gratifying to come back, all the places you've been, Japan,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
have to come back here and serve a year. That must
yeah.
have
I ended up getting stationed at Dam Neck in Virginia Beach, and so I was working at the rifle range in the Marine Corps. Excuse me. I was also a cook, so I would make sure the mess hall was good, and we would do things at the rifle range and what we call the designated marksmanship program, kind of like a sniper school, kind of sort of. But I worked there, and then part-time I worked at the Renaissance Hotel in Portsmouth at
Oh,
night, and so I would bartend over there, and I had a chance to learn a lot of the skill sets of what the Marriott service mine was. I applied for a chef over there, but I ended up being a bartender because the food and beverage manager needed bartenders, and I had the front of the house skills to do what I needed to do. And I think some of our listeners or some of the guys from my class, they would come past, and you get a following as a bartender. And folks, that's another thing you can do if you are into bartending. You can get into bartending, you can make some drinks, and you can take money home with you that night. So that's a good quote unquote hustle. If you're bartending and you can do some of those things, you can go in and out of doing that throughout your life, and you can kind of keep a residual income coming. But yeah, it was a good experience working at the Renaissance. That was great. So it was just a couple things I wanted to mention before we sign off.
Sure.
I am a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. I struggle with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from 9/11 and from my combat time and from all this other stuff. So any veterans listening, you want to make sure that you check in with your medical people.
mhm.
It's real. Once you get to the point where you don't want to leave the house, you don't want to be around people, and you rather be within those four walls, they have all kinds of things to help you guys out. They have therapy dogs that are kind of know when you're going through a setback, and those dogs can kind of nudge you and kind of keep you going. They have different medications that you guys can be on, and I'm not ashamed to admit I'm a few myself. Just so you don't have the nightmares and the anger and some of the stuff that goes on. So and for those veterans that are about to get out, don't give up with the VA. They owe you some of those things that we sacrifice our mind and our bodies for, and they'll go ahead and they'll give you the ratings that you need. You just need to get the right people to help you out, but you can get those things done, and they'll take care of you and your family for the rest of your life. So vets, don't give up on that. I had to go through the process. I'm currently 100% disabled right now. I get a check, my family's being able to take care of. My next thing is to get permanent and total, because I have some things that are gonna be disintegrating as I get older, just from my military time. But vets, don't give up on that. And if you find yourself in that room alone and you don't feel like talking to anybody, you don't want to be around anybody, that thing starts to spiral. So you need to get out before you do something to yourself to harm yourself. I've been there and I know about it. So guys, you got to reach out. All right. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah,
I know I
thanks
got
for
a lot. I know I got a lot to say.
no, thanks for sharing that. Everything you shared today was good information, and especially
Exactly.
that last bit of information, because I'm sure it's a lot of people out there that don't know where to go, or
Exactly.
don't know where to turn.
Right.
I have some friends from the Vietnam War that
Yeah.
are still trying to get what's due to them
Yeah.
from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So they just have to not give up, and like you said, and the help is out there for you. And the colonel, I'm sure the colonel knows very well about him being in the medical field, and sometimes you have to jump through some hoops.
Yeah, and you guys, you can reach out to me. I don't feel bad about you reaching out to me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. Hey, I'm still trying to learn technology things, so I don't know all my labels for it. But you find Anthony Ward, you'll see my picture, you see my chef picture or my Marine Corps picture up there. But you can reach out to me at chefward1@gmail.com if you're going through some stuff, if you need information about culinary, if you need some support with the military, you can reach out to me at my email as well, and I'll reach back out to you, and we can get this thing going.
Yeah, and hopefully we can have something set up. And when we've been talking about that ever since we've been on the air, of trying to do something with, maybe after the COVID is over, and bringing, people back, Portsmouth residents back that want to give back in some kind of way, and show that all the different opportunities that are out there for our students, especially nowadays, because we have a lot of kids out there lost.
Yes, we do.
And need
That's
some
true.
guidance, beyond their family settings.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I mean, I'm glad you reached out to I know when I was with Miss Stiff, I was a kid. I was probably 12 years old when I met her. I made it to Norcom when I was 12 because I skipped a grade. So Miss Stiff has known me since I was a baby, and Colonel Mr. Overton, I know I was, pretty much a baby when y'all were, I mean, y'all were before I was even here. So, I mean, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for letting me, speak, and hopefully I reached out to somebody. But I appreciate you all too, because you all have watched us. You were those neighbors that saw us running around the street, and you would pull us in the house and discipline us, or you would tell our parents, and we hated it at the time, but we appreciate it so much because that's how we prolonged our lives and didn't end up in jail or dead somewhere. So you all definitely are detrimental, important to our community as well. Our elders, our older people that have looked out for us. You've been through it. So
Generational thing for us. Generational thing for us. We passed on, given to us. And so, and that's one of the things that might be a little gap in there that's missing that we need to bring back. Passing on that generational knowledge and concern for our future, really. Okay, co-hosts, any last comments from the co-hosts?
Anthony, I am just so thankful that you're on this morning. I knew that we would talk about your culinary skills, but you added so much more to the conversation than your culinary skills. And I think they're not only things that the young people can learn from, but also the veterans who are out here. So you touched a lot of bases today. And I want to thank you. And I want to thank you for all the insight. I want to thank you for the information you provided. I want to thank you for being open to discussion with those in the community who may need help out there in the community, either the young folks or the veterans, whomever it may be. But I just want to thank you so very much. One thing Anthony offered me during the time when my youth group was active was that he would get us into the White House for a tour. So we have to wait till COVID is over, Anthony, and hopefully we would get there. And I just pray Godspeed with you and that you stay healthy. You have a lovely family. Your daughter is beautiful. And just continue doing what you're doing, continue serving, and what's yours will be yours. So I know great things are still in store for you, Anthony. And I'm just so proud of what you have become, who you have become. And
God is in charge. God is
definitely in charge.
And he will always take you where you need to get to.
Where you need to be.
That's very first.
And I got to say one thing too, although, I know my class is the best class that came out of Norcom, I have to take some ownership for that 1991 class as well, because my daughter was in that class and they are my babies. That 91 class, they are my babies. So I put them second to my group. Okay, James, sorry. But thanks again, Anthony. Thank you so very much for all that you've given to us on this morning. Colonel?
Yes, Anthony, I'd like to echo what Leah said. And one of the things I'd like to say is, one, when somebody says there are veterans, there is an opening of the doors of the family, because of veterans, once you're a veteran, you've served, and I say you've seen some stuff. It just makes you it's like your family and your kin. And then and also with that point that veterans that are out there filing for their disability, go to the American Legion or the VFW. They have folks there that know what to do to help you get your disability claims done. And you can't get it until you apply. So, so keep on doing what you're doing.
All
And
right.
Colonel, can I say one thing too? Get your DD 214s and give copies to your family, please.
Mm,
Don't
yeah.
let them have to go through that once you have passed or something has taken place where you may need medical assistance, and
Right.
get that DD 214 and give a copy to somebody in your family.
Right. Right.
Because the process is just tremendous when something has happened. So make sure you
Right.
take care of that. And Anthony, one other thing, I know we got to go, James, 7:33, but your
Yeah.
mother is a
Yeah.
lieutenant colonel, retired from the Army, nurse, and your father
Yes.
was a paratrooper. So
Yes.
you come from a military family as well. So
Yes. Yes. And my mom was class in 1960 at Norcom also. So,
right,
yeah.
right. So we just want to thank each of you for your service. I know your father has passed on, but
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
We appreciate it.
I think you opened up. Did your mother serve at the 18th Field Hospital over there in Norfolk?
She did. Yes, sir.
She's a nurse.
Yes. Probably knew her.
Huh?
Probably knew her. Yeah.
I went to Hampton University, and she was one of the folks that served. I was in her unit in Norfolk in the 18th field, at the 18th field over, and I know your mom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Small world, guys.
Small world.
Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to share information and talk after this. I'll get with Ms. Stetson so I can get you all's numbers, because I'm sure we can extend this conversation a lot longer than the
I'm
viewers
sure
wanna
we
hear.
can.
Yeah.
Because we're already gone well past that 7:30 hour, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Well, that's
It's been
okay.
great.
That's okay. Whenever we have good information like this, it's no time is, it's not that big of an issue with
That's
us.
right.
We just have to share that information. And I think it's fitting that we get an early jump on next month. I mentioned about adoption month, but also we're gonna be honoring the veterans next month as well. So we got sort of a jump on veterans,
Right.
the month that they usually, although we should honor our veterans all year round. Make sure we, every time I see somebody, I thank them for their service, and we all should do that. Because
a lot of people say, thank you for your service. One person told me, thank you for your sacrifice.
That's right.
And that meant so much more.
That's right.
Than thank you for your service. It just resonated with me a lot more when they said, thank you for your sacrifice. And that,
I think
was something different about that. Yeah.
I think I would change mine to thank you for your
think I would
sacrifice. I
change
like that a
mine,
whole lot better.
my greeting to that.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So thank everybody for watching, and we appreciate you we appreciate your support and watching. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
Our community.
In our future.
and we'll see you next week. Take care. God
Take
bless you.
care. God bless.
Take care. Bye.
God bless, Anthony. Take care of
All
yourself.
right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Small world.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
We still on?
Oh yeah.
Still recording?
I'm stopping
Got one more
recording.
recording.
Okay.